Hey, I quote unquote graduated yesterday, even though I haven't actually graduated. What's up, is a culture detective here investigating your favorite TV shows, and today I'm going to be doing a hopefully as quick as possible TV review of Blue Eye Samurai. Ah, so Blue Eye Samurai is a new animated cartoon TV show from Netflix. It is created by Amber Noizumi and Michael Green, and it caught wind earlier this year. Even though this TV show had already been running since late 2023, I believe, but it sort of became pretty popular and people have been talking about it. Ooh, samurais! Wow, Japanese culture is so cool. And that is also before Shogun aired, which also created a lot of buzz, if not more. So obviously, this is a huge year for samurai fans, whether it be Blue Eye Samurai or Shogun or the Ghost of Tsushima or the new Assassin's Creed game and the 4K restoration of Seven Samurai. The list goes on and on and on. But anyways, again, it's very interesting to see this new, oh, it's not new anymore, but still this very deep fascination from American viewers to Japanese culture, and only singularly Japanese culture. It's really interesting. But anyways, Blue Eye Samurai is a show about a woman named Mizu who has blue eyes because she's half white. She's Asian. She's a bit of a Asian herself, and she is angry because everyone's bullying her for being Asian. So she wants to kill all white people in Japan. That's the plan. Um, and that's pretty much the plot. It's a really simple, kind of a revenge tale. And we have the story itself. And oh my goodness, I did not enjoy the first episode at all. Not at all. I mean, there are a lot of admirable moments still, admirable elements, like the animation. I thought it looks really clean, crisp, beautiful. In a lot of ways, the animation looks like a video game. There are a lot of CGI in the animation, but it's all utilized really well in a way that it doesn't compromise all the other elements as well. So the animation is pretty fantastic. I really like it. I like the colors as well. They look really pretty. But one thing I have to admit is that I just I'm never used to seeing Japanese characters open their mouths and hear fluent American English coming out of them. And yeah, I know. I mean, if you watch anime, you would know that there are animes set in fricking Germany and people speak fluent Japanese. Well, how about that? I'm more used to that, but I'm less used to this. And that's not to say that this is bad. I'm just saying that I'm less used to this, so I didn't enjoy this more. It just feels really weird to me because I feel like I'm watching a dubbed anime, and I never watch dubbed anime because it's corny as hell. But the thing that I want to critique more isn't that. What I want to critique more is that a lot of the story structures and particularly people's mannerisms and how they act in front of people are just so un-Japanese. And again, I'm not gonna pride myself here like I'm some expert in Japanese culture or something like that, but at least as somebody from East Asia, like a lot of these people, they don't, and especially given that this is a period show, like this is supposed to be in the past and not now, not nowadays. There are many scenes where one of the characters is Princess Akemi, and she sort of opposes her father and speaks up against him, which is like crazy because in the 17th century in Japan, if you do that, that is a huge sin. That's a huge problem. And people would never dare to speak against their father, even if they're a guy. It's just very un-Japanese to me. And again, Mizu acting un-Japanese is fine because she's a Asian character and she's also an outsider in the first place. But there are so many other moments here that just feels like white people cosplaying as Japanese saying things in perfect American English, and it just feels very uncanny. If anything, this proves that the show is catered to the West, and is very much so. And again, that's not an issue because there are animes set in Europe and set in America, but it literally caters to the Japanese. But there's just something so, hey, Americans, this is what you like seeing, right? Ooh, Japanese culture, the sushi, the ramen. There's something so pandering about the westification of the story that just kind of ticks me off. And again, the un-Japanese story structure didn't really ruin it for me. And in fact, I thought it was quite interesting. This is a Western TV show set in Japan, so a lot of the cold openings and a lot of characters doing something and it hits a climax and it cuts to a different scene. That's a very Western thing. Like you wouldn't see that in an anime, and it's interesting. But the idea of a show just completely catering to the West uh, by making Japanese culture as exotic as it seems just feel very weird. And there's also a lot of violence and sex and nudity in this show, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'd say that is also a part of this westification of the Japanese culture. Now we move on to episode 2, where again, I wish I enjoyed episode 2 more, but there's still a lot of moments that just makes me want to roll my eyes. Like there are a lot of moments where they're saying Japanese words in the dialogue, but those words are actually really simple. Like, let's go to the Matsuri and worship the kami. Like it's some really cool Japanese thing, even though Matsuri means festival and kami means god. This is literally like all according to Keikaku. And then there's the voice acting, which obviously stylistically this is way more different than anime voice acting. And I'm not saying this is bad voice acting, I'm just saying that I'm not used to this kind of voice acting. But one reason I can give is that this animation style is extremely stylistic, and voice acting this deadpan, or I wouldn't say deadpan, but like stiff, just doesn't complement the animation pretty well. So again, there's this naturalistic voice acting in this show that just kind of ticks me off. But I think the biggest complaint I have with Blue Eye Samurai is the characters of Ringo and Taigen. First of all, Ringo, what the heck is this name? Ringo, are you Ringo Starr? I know Ringo sounds like Ringo, so it sounds like apple, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense either. And Ringo is just so goddamn annoying. He's so annoying. He just follows the main character of Mizu around and like becomes an excuse for anything, like any plot convenience. Ringo is here to save the day, or Ringo solves a problem magically because he's there. Another character that I absolutely dislike is Taigen, who just sounds like a college frat boy. Like, I just cannot take him seriously at all.
Hold me over your head and run.
Hold me over your head and run. So yeah, and then now we have episode 4, which is actually the first episode I actually liked, because this is the first time I see character depth, where Mizu goes to a brothel and promises the madam of the brothel to do a job that she clearly isn't too comfortable doing, but she has to do it. And that scene is amazing, and I finally see some character depth in there. Also, this episode sheds positivity on sex work, which is always interesting to see in a show like this. But also, there is a Seven Samurai reference in the beginning of the episode, so respect to that. Also, by the way, Seven Samurai 4K restoration coming out. Please check it out. Please go to the theaters and watch it. Please, please, please. Then we have episode 5, which is an all-fighting episode, which intercuts between the fighting and the flashbacks of Mizu, where Mizu was forced to marry this barbarian character, but he turned out to be really nice. I really love the flashback scenes, because it's a very peaceful breath of fresh air, but it's also some some kind of positivity that just kind of came out of nowhere. And the fights are amazing too. That said, I just wish they wouldn't intercut between the fight and the flashbacks, because every time a fight is happening and it's intense and it's exhilarating and then it cuts to a flashback, it just ruins the momentum for me. If this entire episode is just a 30-minute long fight scene, I would have freaking loved it. A 30-minute long fight scene plus a 10-minute flashback in the middle. It would have been amazing, but no. But then now we have episode 6, which is a 35-minute long fight scene. So yeah, when I clicked onto episode 6, I found out that this episode is only 35 minutes long, and I was like, okay, I know what that means. It's an action episode where there's nothing but action. And you know what? I'm right. This episode is one non-stop, blood-pumping, violent, brutal, gruesome fight scene. And by brutal, I mean actually brutal. Like, there are moments where Mizu is invading a castle, and like the castle has like traps and stuff, which again, it's like Indiana Jones. It's very Western. I don't know how true this is. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I wouldn't imagine people spending an entire floor of a castle just setting up traps instead of doing something even more effective, you know? But anyways, I digress. This is a very great episode. It felt like a video game, and I really love the ending. Just really hits hard. Episode 7 is the recovery episode. There's a moment where Mizu writes the flower sutra all over her, which I really like. I get the reference, but I think most viewers will probably not get the reference because it's this random Buddhism thing that came out of nowhere. In fact, we have never established that Mizu practices Buddhism. The show never really established that, and just assumes that all Japanese people are sort of, reciting the sutra and stuff. But I don't think that's true. And then finally we have the ending of the season, which is episode 8. It's a good ending. I don't think it's great though, because the fight scenes are not nearly as exhilarating or as climactic as episode 6. There are also a lot of things that don't really make a lot of sense, whether it be a Princess Akemi and an old dude holding off tens or maybe dozens of soldiers and then blocking the gate with a rifle. And the rifle didn't snap in half or anything like that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, Mizu going to London at the end. Minor spoiler alert, but she, I guess, goes to London at the end. Which I don't know how is that going to change the story. But if anything, it would be great to see late middle to early neoclassical London being the setting of a samurai film. I think that would be very interesting. And it's sort of teased towards a season 2, but I also don't know how will that pan out. Yeah, overall there's a lot of good story in this TV show. I think there are a lot of pretty good moments here and there. Again, very good animation, looks really good, visually satisfying. But there are also a lot of moments where it just ticks me off. It just takes the immersion out. So yeah, Blue Eye Samurai, a lot of good moments, but would I say it's great? Not really. I'm giving Blue Eye Samurai a decent 7 out of 10. So have you watched Blue Eye Samurai? Comments below, let me know, subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. I gotta go now. Bye bye.